This is the city of dawn.
Let me warmly welcome you to the City of Dawn YouTube channel. My name is Mubati Seeker. I am a medical doctor, healer, writer and teacher. I am the author of the bestseller Awake Giant, The Dawn of the Soul, which you can purchase on Amazon. This book can be your guide to inner development and self-discovery, helping you become who you truly are. I want to help you discover why you are here, what your unique and personalized mission is here on this planet called Earth, and how to set out with strong determination, courage, and resolve on the path that has been waiting for you for so long. This path was made for you, and no one else can walk it for you. My channel and of course my book will help you with this. One deceives oneself only when one wants to deceive oneself. Give all you are, all you have. Nothing more is asked of you, but also nothing less. I am going to tell you in what circumstances I wrote this. This will make you understand. These are the sentences of the mother Mirra Alfassa. Someone wrote to me saying that he was very unhappy, for he longed to have wonderful capacities to put at the disposal of the divine for the realization, for the work, and that he also longed to have immense riches to be able to give them, to put them at the feet of the divine for the work. So I replied to him that he need not be unhappy, that each one is asked to give what he has, that is all his possessions, whatever they may have, whatever they may be, and what he is, that is, all his potentialities, which corresponds to the consecration of one's life and the giving of all one's possessions, and that nothing more than this is asked. What you are, give that. What you have, give that. And your gift will be perfect. From the spiritual point of view, it will be perfect. This does not depend upon the amount of wealth you have or the number of capacities in your nature. It depends upon the perfection of your gift. This is to say, on the totality of your gift. I remember having read in a book of Indian legends a story like this. There was a very pure, very old woman who had nothing, who was quite destitute, who lived in a miserable little hut, and who had been given a fruit. It was a mango. She had eaten half of it and kept the other half for the next day, because it was something so marvelous that she did not often happen to get it, a mango. And then when night fell, someone knocked at the rickety door and asked for hospitality. And this someone came in and told her he wanted shelter and was hungry. So she said to him, "Well, I have no fire to warm you, I have no blanket to cover you, and I have half a mango left. That is all I have, if you want it. I have eaten half of it." And it turned out that this someone was Shiva, and that she was filled with an inner glory, for she had made a perfect gift of herself and all she had. I read that, I found it magnificent. Well, yes, this describes it vividly. It's exactly that. The rich man, or even people who are quite well off and have all sorts of things in life and give to the divine what they have in surplus, for usually this is the gesture. One has a little more money than one needs, one has a few more things than one needs, and so generously one gives that to the divine. It is better than giving nothing, but even if this little more than what they need represents lakhs of rupees, the gift is less perfect than the one of half the mango. For it is not by the quantity or the quality that it is measured, it is by the sincerity of the giving and the absoluteness of the giving. These sentences were from the mother's book, Questions and Answers, 1956. Well, on the path to God, if you want to move forward and grow, honesty with yourself and with others is a fundamental requirement of paramount importance. We need to face ourselves honestly and take stock of all the desires that move us day by day in the whirl of life. For ordinary mental people, the fulfillment of desires means happiness. A person with such a mindset pursues one thing for a lifetime: the fulfillment of all his desires in order to be happy. In vain does he experience over and over again that the happiness he receives through the satisfaction of his desires can never be complete, because he is haunted by the terrifying idea that it will end, and then what will become of him? Because desire is just that. You long for something. You are so desperate to get something or someone that it fills your every thought. Let's say you do everything you can to really have it, and let's say you succeed. Hurrah! How long will your joy be unbridled? If you have bought a new car and you are very happy with it, how long will this happiness last? Will your new car lose value by the minute? Will you meet someone you know who, if you are honest with yourself, has an even better car? What happens if your car happens to break down? What if they scratch it in the parking lot? What if the kid spills yogurt in it? How much worry is mixed into this happiness? When are you going to start looking at cars again, or anything else you might want? Notice this. For the ordinary person, it's never really the thing they desire that causes the greatest excitement, but the feeling of desire itself. It gives a little adrenaline to the otherwise dull everyday life. It feels good to have a desire, sometimes it feels intoxicating. That's exactly why, after each desire is fulfilled, we will crave for more and more things. Because this adrenaline is what we are looking for. Now you might ask, what's wrong with that for me? Why shouldn't we live like this? At least we keep ourselves busy and we feel good about the constant adrenaline rush. I tell you what I've realized in my own life about these things. When I put the pursuit of the pleasures of the mundane first and I focused my energies there, I did everything I could to get this, have that. They didn't give me a sense of joy. Even though I felt the adrenaline, my joy was not complete because it was overshadowed by something. It's like walking in a beautiful place with clouds in the sky, and you can't see or feel the sunshine because something is clouding your joy. So I asked myself, out of such an ordinary way of life, where we go after our desires in a nice line, what is it that I am missing? I was finally honest with myself, and I admitted to myself that I didn't really come here to eat, drink, sleep and have fun. As long as I waste my energies to these things, I keep losing something really precious. And I really have less and less of it. That is time. Time is something that is becoming scarcer as we move forward in our lives, and it makes a difference how we spend it. So it was a big realization that, as attractive as all these desires seem to be, that's not what I'm really looking for. Now, I would note in parentheses that mental people who live ordinary lives may not see a life spent satisfying desires as gloomy as I do, but that's fine. Some people in a given life may not have come to develop too much spiritually and may not need to develop at all. He may be paying off a series of karmic debts to some other souls in his present birth. He may be a good father or mother to someone to whom he has a karmic debt from an earlier time, and that is the current mission, all he has to do spiritually. He may not have such storm clouds in his sky from satisfying earthly desires. I am talking about myself and those who have come on a mission where we have to carry out a great project, the inner development of ourselves. I realize that I came here to evolve, and to evolve I need a lot of strength and energy. Energy, like time, is finite. It's true that our energy is recharged again and again, but there is always a limit to how much we can take on a given day, what we can fit in, and where is the point after which we have to rest. I decided that I was going to do everything I could to put all my energy into helping my soul grow. Anyone who sets their mind on such a journey before they even start has to ask themselves with brutal honesty, is this really what I want? Is this really my mission? If the answer is yes, we must still ask ourselves, do I accept the mission? Will I accept everything that will come if I start on this journey? Can I accept that things will change around me? That my relationships will be rearranged? That all friends will leave me? That new people with similar inner paths will come into my life? Am I not afraid of change? Am I not afraid to evolve? To these questions I answered by being ready and accepting whatever comes. And off I went. There are two very important pillars to this journey, both of which are very pronounced. I've told about them before, but they are so important that I will say them again and again. I cannot say it enough times. One of the keys to progress is recognizing negative influences and systematically eliminating them from our lives, even if they are painful. In an extreme example, let's say I have a group of friends who get together every Friday night, party, get drunk, and then by Sunday I'm getting it back together. That's -2 days every week in terms of progress. I decide that I have to eliminate that from my life, but how? If I stand in front of them and say I'm not drinking, they won't accept it anyway. They'll want to keep me drinking all night. If I don't go, they won't understand what happened to me. What should I do now? I feel inside that this is not good for me anymore, but how can I quit? I'll tell you how. You just take it and get out. That's it. But I ask you again, are you sure you want to do this? Are you able to let go of old habits and old friends who would only drag you back in your new way? Remember this from the beginning. You can't ride two horses with one ass here. You can feel yourself for a while that I'll be good here and there and everyone will be happy, but in the long run it won't work. You'll be forced to choose. But it's hard, you might say. Don't tell me. You think I haven't experienced how hard it is? But, and it's a big but, I'll tell you the good news. It's very difficult, but it's also very powerful from above. So much strength that I am often amazed. Sometimes I don't understand how could I have done it this time. We do not have to understand. We just have to accept the power that we are given and use it, but not for our own selfish purposes, because then we cannot talk about any progress. All power and energy must be invested in the mission. and how it manifests itself in the material world is not so important as what lies behind it, the inner spiritual transformation. That is what everything must be staked on. You have to go all in, like in poker. I used to love playing poker in my old life, and it's a very exciting part of this card game when you put all your chips in the middle, usually because you have a hand that you think is a sure winner. Of course, you can also do it all in bluff when you have nothing but you want to make the other person think you have a very strong hand. Now, from the opponent's point of view, if you're confidently all in, that's all incredible strength. You might be so scared that the other person will throw away a very good hand because you see that the other person is so determined that you're going all in. The beauty of the game is that if the other guy folds again you're all in, you don't even have to show what card you had if you don't want to. No one will ever know. To use a poker analogy in spiritual life, you have to go all in. No matter what cards you have in your hand, no matter what conditions you started out in, no matter where you were born, whether you are well off or destitute, whether you have a settled family situation or are in the middle of a mess, none of that matters if you decide to go on the path of inner growth. No matter what cards you have in your hand, you have to go all in. You must give it all away, only then you can win it all. What is everything you can win? To win everything from a spiritual point of view is something less than the greatest leap upwards that can be achieved in a given life and mission. To raise your consciousness to a new level. Such a rise in consciousness will bring you such immeasurable and unspeakable joy that the pursuit of earthly desires cannot approach. The two cannot be compared. They are light years apart. Let us return to this first pillar, which is the rejection of the forces that would draw man towards darkness and ignorance. Again, it will be a hard struggle because they will come again and again. They will test you to the limit and they will ask you, are you sure you want to do this? Would you rather go back to your old life, to your old self? We can give you more joy than you can imagine. With the strength you receive from above, you will be able to send them away again and again with love, because they no longer have a place with you. That's it. The other pillar is to let as many divine thoughts into your consciousness as possible. The best way to do this is by reading holy books about God on a regular basis. For me, a number of books have meant a lot in my life. I have read a lot of scripture, the New Testament several times, and certain parts of the Old Testament. And one of the most emphatic revelations for me is one of the most sacred books in the Hindu religion, the Bhagavad Gita, which contains 18 so-called dialogues describing the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the human being. This work reveals to us most of the secrets concerning the working of the world in concrete terms. The third dialogue, titled The Yoga of Action, touched me so much that I memorized it and recited it several times a day for a time, often while doing other activities by myself. I also read a lot of books by Sri Chinmoy, who was a disciple of Sri Aurobindo. I've developed an interesting habit with this book. I've had to buy it for myself several times, as I always give my own copy to someone after a while. The reason I can't go out and buy a new one to give in the moment is because it just happens and I have to make a quick decision, and the easiest thing to do is to pull mine off my shell. But because it's become a habit, I only ever have one at home. It's not mine, but waiting to be given to someone. So this book is called Initiation by Elizabeth Haich. Since I have come to the consciousness of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, I feel that this is the level of consciousness I have been seeking all along. Now I read, translate, and interpret their books exclusively. These two pillars can also be combined. For example, if I had planned to watch a scary movie in the evening, let's say I refuse to do so. I say no to the many fear-inducing forces that I would be letting into myself and instead watch a spiritual movie or read a spiritual book. If I don't stop at simply rejection, the hostile forces, but spend that time directly on building the soul, I think I can really make a big leap, and such a decision is a really powerful and good decision in the long run. You might ask, what's wrong with a scary movie? I tell you. One of the most powerful weapons that the forces of darkness and ignorance have to manipulate human beings with and hold them in their grip is fear-mongering. If you watch a lot of films that make you feel fear, sooner or later you will start to feel fear long after the film is over. I have a funny saying which goes like this: remember, if you invite the devil to your house, he will be happy to come, and he will bring his spells with him. If they are comfortable with you, you may not be able to get them out easily, and they may want to stay for a long time, so better not to invite them. We have managed to talk a lot about desires, and from this section I would like to highlight a very important sentence that concludes this discussion beautifully. The disciple who here asked the Mother about desire was wondering how we can know whether a desire that arises in us is a simple desire or one of a nature that propels us towards God. To this the Mother replied with a short, concise answer, which contains everything we need to know about it. The sentence you should write down somewhere in big red letters because it is true in every area of your life. You only deceive yourself if you want to deceive yourself. It's a difficult area, by the way, because there's often only a nuance between what our soul wants and what our ego wants. The ego is a masterful player. If it notices that you are dealing with your soul, it gets scared about what is going to happen to it and tries to instill thoughts in you that you might think are coming from your soul, that they are part of the mission, but it's really just your ego deceiving you and pretending to have spiritual thoughts. If you don't recognize it and go after it, it will take you on a so-called pseudo-spiritual journey. I've seen a lot of this, and it is one of the biggest dangers that a spiritual person faces, that the ego will deceive them and take them away from their true path, into a pseudo-spiritual path where the ego will grow and grow and grow. The ego. The followers will only strengthen that person, and there will be no turning back, at least in this life. And then obviously that soul will get another opportunity to learn to distinguish between the real and the false lights, to be able to recognize the ego's very spiritual seeming yet fundamentally egoistical ideas. Many are given this task just before their enlightenment, and many fall here, even the greatest souls. It is a tough task. I have seen many spiritual people who have been led by their ego to believe they have so much knowledge that they have to pass it on to others. This in itself would not be a problem if someone just passes on some of his knowledge for the edification of others. However, the ego of many of these souls have reached out to form a community where they will move together towards a better future, and they shouldn't have. From then on, the ego put all its little things on top of it, and as a religious community was formed around that person, where he obviously became the leader, so many little egoistic things were put into what was originally a pure thing. Now it has lost its essence, its purity. In the following section, we're going to look at a theme that we've explored previously, the extent of the gift to God. Here the same truth is revealed, wrapped up in another story. It fits perfectly with the theme of desire. A poor woman, when she received the mango, was happy, for she had longed for it and ate half of it. She had the foresight to keep the other half so that she could experience the pleasure again the next day. How good it felt to eat something good when she was hungry, especially when you rarely get to eat it. But when a stranger arrived, she didn't even ask who he was. She gave him everything without thinking, without weighing or arguing. This woman was at such a high spiritual level that she was no longer attached to desire. What spiritual strength is needed for that? One who can do this truly sees God in everything. How many times in history have people had to leave their homes because someone decided that it was no longer theirs? What would you do if a decree means that tomorrow you have to move out of your home you have been living in, which you have been decorating and improving for years? Could you just let it go, like the woman gave away the mango? This story is obviously an extreme case. What the story points out is that when you start on the path of spiritual growth, you cannot do it half-heartedly. You can only move forward on this path if you give everything you have, if you give all your attachments, all your being. You have to be able to say that you are going on the path of inner transformation, whatever that will bring into your life. Literally anything. Implicit in that statement is the acceptance that I accept that I am not attached to anything or anyone, to the extent that I cannot let go of anyone or anything if they have to crumble away from me along the way. Can you really do that? There are many things you can do here on earth half-heartedly. Well, you can't do that one thing. You can't make progress half-heartedly here. You can only make a big progress. You go on the road or you don't, but if you go, you really go, putting everything you are into it wherever it leads. Even if you can't see where you started from when you look back at the first bend. You just look ahead. You accept whatever or whoever comes, whatever or whoever has to go. You let it go. If you really decide you are ready and you take it on, then do it and accept the strength you will get to do it. That will keep you going through the hard decisions and will keep you going when your ego starts to get fat on the praise of others. Remember, it is always more spiritually dangerous to be flattered than to be hurt. After all, who wouldn't be happy to be praised? Your ego must be very happy, but pay attention to who you identify with, because you have already voted for your soul. You have chosen to develop it, to perfect it, and the soul doesn't need any flattery. The soul is aware of who it is, and it does not function at all like the ego. For the ego constantly needs positive feedback from others to build its own glory from. In a word, if you have felt within yourself for a long time that fleeting desires and pleasures do not satisfy you, you can be almost certain that you have come here on some greater mission. You have a desire to fulfill the task your soul has assigned you. to embark on a journey of inner transformation. Identify with who you are. Raise your consciousness to a new level, to expand, include, to see the world around you from a higher perspective. The wonders you have walked past. If you feel this within yourself, then I suggest you make the decision to go ahead and embrace all that will come your way. A new life full of miracles will unfold before you, full of tasks to be accomplished, and you will be given all the strength to do them. Remember, this is not for the lazy, but for those who want to work on themselves. These are also the words of the Mother, but you will reach such a height of consciousness that you will say it was worth it, and you'll be glad you made that decision later. Remember, the city of dawn is you. You who are watching this video and who are thereby being brought into the consciousness of the Mother, the Divine Mother. Live this in your daily life, and if you feel comfortable here, come back again and again. Be a regular guest, be a builder, be a resident of the city of dawn. Discover the deeper truths of your life, find your way to yourself, and become who you really are. If you would like to join me, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook and TikTok, and feel free to share this video with others. The Mother's books are available to read for free at the link provided in the description, and I welcome any questions you may have via email. You can purchase my book Awake Giant, The Dawn of the Soul on Amazon. You will find the link in the description. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your hearts and souls. May Mother bless you abundantly on your journey through life. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.